Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Life Law Podcast. I am your host, Debbie Dowesi Ajum. I am pleased to unveil the official soundtrack of this podcast. It's a beat by my very good friend of blessed memory, Diko Ibrahim. In the weeks to come, I'll be telling you guys more about him. But for now, let's enjoy the beat and know that it's very special and it's from someone special whom I want to honor for the rest of my life. Diko, my peng man, I love you and I miss you every single day. I pray that you continue to rest in peace. Today's story is one that I originally did not write as part of the short story collection, but although it coincidentally falls under the theme, it got shortlisted for the WitsSprouts Storytelling Prize. Yay! And so I am going to read it out to you guys. Some of you may have seen my video on Instagram at Ajum Debbie. Check it out if you haven't, or you can just listen here. So it got shortlisted and I am now on the final phase of the competition and I really hope I win. I'll give you guys the updates as soon as it happens. I hope you enjoyed the story. It's fictional, of course, and the title is His Last Safe House. You all said I betrayed him. You be Delilah! You chant in your self-righteous rage. What you forget is that I am a heroine. Yes, like Nnamdi Azikiwe, like Obafemi Awolowo, like Dele Giwa, like all the heroes of our past. But you all don't acknowledge me. At a time when terror roamed the streets of Benin City, when families crammed into homes and shops were hastily closed at the sound of screeching cars and gunshots, when the people of Bendel saved money in jars at home and not banks, when Benin men were running away from the police force, I helped the country restore peace and order. But decades later, and no one sings my praises, like all our unsung heroes. Anini was my love. What is that face? Oh, you think I'm not capable of loving someone? Wait, let me tell you something. There is a thin line between love and hate, and by the time I had crossed the threshold of love, hatred was all I could feel for Anini. By the time Anini moved to Benin City with the intention of becoming a taxi driver, I was trying my hand at petty trading in Benin market. Life is a journey, but I'm sure you know that. And mine ended, and in some ways it also began when I met Anini. The circumstances surrounding my first encounter with Anini is, well, an interesting one. A woman was haggling over a bowl of fresh red tomatoes with me at my makeshift shop when all hell broke loose. He done dey come, lock shop, run. In no time, my customer had flung my tomatoes and was nowhere in sight. People were running in all directions. I stood, transfixed to the ground, mouth gaping in horror. I had no idea what was going on, who was coming, and why everyone was running. Why you dey stand? A woman screamed past me. Run for your life! But I did not run. My small tomato business was my life, and it had been trampled on by the feet of traders and customers allegedly running to safety. I did not run. I was going to wait and see this demon that everyone was running away from. But it wasn't a demon. It was a man with scruffy hair and beard in the driver's seat of a car. I didn't even notice I was crying till my vision started to blur. Words of cash suddenly fell on me, and just when he was returning his left hand back into the car, our eyes locked, but only for a brief moment before his car zoomed off down the street. 2 days later, I was face to face with the man whom the entire Benin City and Nigeria at large feared, Lawrence Nomoyogbon Anini. People called him the Law, Ovigbo, and Robin Hood, but I called him Annie. Annie was a good man to me. Sometimes we would meet up once in a week, and other times, if coast no clear, like he would say, we would not see each other for months. He never told me where he was hiding, waiting for the tension to dissipate before making his grand entrance, preferably to a new bank, and I always feared that another woman was taking him away from me. "Why you go yarn that kind thing?" he would ask harshly when I told him my fears. "Na only you be my Kelly, another one no gun body." My entire body would melt in relief and joy. He would then cradle me in his arms and tell me all about his escapades, how he and Monday and the other gang members had robbed another bank, how a police officer had dropped his gun and ran for his life, how another one had tried to play the hero and ended up on the ground covered in blood, and how all the while, as he was waiting in the car to drive his crew to safety, he had been thinking about me. I would blush as the butterflies fluttered wildly in my body and stroke his beard. Then fat rolls of cash would emerge from somewhere in his body and he would hand it over to me. I always got my share of the spoils. "Annie!" I would squeal delightfully. "Uzoka, thank you." I should have gotten used to it, his kindness and generosity, but I wanted more. I wanted security. I wanted marriage, but Anini was only in love with the thrill. This is how it went. My betrayer, as she liked to call it. Anini was asleep. His hand laid on his chest and right foot twitched, like it always did when he was dreaming. Probably of the smell of cash mints, speeding cars, sirens that couldn't catch him, and the boys yelling, "The law! The law!" as they fled into the smoke. Who knows? Anini never snored, even in deep sleep. He was always alert. Any little sound could stir him awake. He was like a cat with his claws always half drawn. So I whispered. I told the police officer who was hiding out in the next compound, "He's here. He's sick. Call the others to come before he wakes." Then I tiptoed back to my room. You know, you all never ask what made me do it. You only ever want to know how. How I successfully hid him for 3 weeks. How I discreetly slipped out for beans and cigarettes. How I soaked my old wrapper in hot water and massaged his swollen shin. How I held my breath every time someone knocked. But you never ask what pushed me to break. You just like to call me Delilah. But I'll tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. It wasn't the fear. No, it wasn't even the guilt. It was the hatred. After the last robbery, the one where 3 police officers, a pregnant trader and a schoolboy were shot, I stopped talking. My Anini had done the unthinkable and he didn't even know it. I just sat on the edge of my mattress each day, one hand on my chin, and the other twisting and turning the ring he had given me while staring at the cracked wall, my thoughts running through a list of ways to avenge my loss. One night, after he had run to me for shelter, I said to him, "You are not God Lawrence." I only called him by his English name when I wasn't happy with him, when there was a shift in our lives and all-time shaky, on and off like NEPA relationship. He scoffed and said, "May God thank me say I let am stay for heaven." After that, I slept with one eye open, not because I feared he would kill me too, no. Anini was a violent man, but he never raised a hand to me. It was because I realized that I had loved a man who didn't fear consequences, and such a man doesn't stop at the world. He eventually turns on the ones inside it. The morning they came, they didn't knock. They stormed into the room, their boots thumping on my cement floor, guns drawn. The room smelt of cigarettes, sweat, the remnants of our breakfast of akara and dried blood. Anini didn't fight. He didn't even scream. That was because they had caught him at his most vulnerable moment. From time to time, Anini would have his charms fortified, but because he had been hiding for 3 weeks while waiting for coast to be cleared, they had all lost their powers and left him powerless. He only looked at me with those eyes that burned like the police vans he set fire to. In them were a million questions that his mouth refused to ask. I didn't answer, or at least I tried not to, but in my eyes, I told him I had no regrets. Because if I had opened my mouth, I would have told him how much I hated him and spat in his face. And I'll tell you why. Anini was not my one true love. Ifeanyi, one of the 3 policemen Anini had killed during his last robbery, was. We had been seeing each other for months, and I was going to sell Anini out to him. Then we could get married and start a life together with the reward from the government. But that never happened. All thanks to Anini. They took Anini, but not after shooting him on his ankle. The same leg I had painstakingly massaged over the course of 3 weeks as I pretended to be a loving girlfriend while cursing him inwardly. And I would later learn that the leg was amputated at the military hospital. He was tried and sentenced to death by a firing squad just a day before his 27th birthday. Nigeria cheered. Ibrahim Babangida was pleased with his execution. Finally, peace would prevail in Benin City. I got my reward of a few $1,000s. I should have been the happiest, but nothing made sense, for I had lost the man I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with. Decades later, I still walk through Benin markets and hear the whispers. That's the woman who sold Anini, daughter of J.C. Bell. She fed him, then fed him to the lions. Delilah II, fear women. Sometimes my heart twists in my chest like it's being ripped apart and I want to shout back. You ungrateful lot! You walk around with no fears. Your money lies safely in bank accounts. You thrive because of me, because I was brave enough to put an end to your sufferings. But I don't. I buy my tomatoes, I haggle over fish, then I walk home through alleys where his name, Anini the Law, is still scrawled in faded charcoal on brick walls, and I try not to lose my mind. Last week, out of the blue, my son came home from school. There had been a protest against the university's decision to increase tuition. What had started peacefully soon became chaotic, and he had thrown the first stone at a police van and run. His friends had shouted, "You dare do like Anini, oh!" and had gone ahead to follow in his footsteps. I froze. His eyes had radiated with pride throughout his tale of fearlessness and reference to Anini, someone whom I had fruitlessly tried to erase from my memory and so never told him about. 20 years of existence, and he has unknowingly chosen the path of the man who killed his father. I think it's funny, because this is what Nigeria deserves for being ungrateful for my heroic service. Anini reincarnated. Yes. My son will terrorize the country, and maybe you all will remember Anini, but most importantly, who had brought him to you on a platter. Me. Thank you for making it this far. I'm really sorry that I wasn't enthusiastic with my storytelling. I don't know, but I just feel down. My NYC call-up number is out and I'd be off to camp on the 30th of this month. I've got so much on my plate and I think I'm just a bit emotionally unstable at the moment. My apologies. If you're Nigerian or you're very familiar with the history of Nigeria, you'd know Anini, notorious armed robber back in the days. So this is a story about him, told in a fictional perspective anyway. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Do you think his girlfriend is a villain or actually a hero, in quotes? Thanks so much for listening. I remain Debbie Doesi Ajom. Bye for now.